Hello, my name is Sharon Pinder, and I'm the President and CEO of the Capital Region Minority Supply Development Council and the operator of the U.S. Department of Commerce's Minority Business Development Agency Business Center in the Commonwealth of Virginia, the first one of its kind. This year, we're incredibly excited because we're celebrating 50 years of advocating for and connecting with our corporate members to well-established and competitively viable minority-owned firms. Today, in this special edition of our podcast, we celebrate Pro Football Hall of Famer, businessman, and entrepreneur, the one and only Emmitt Smith. Now, before we get started, so I know you're going to be excited about this conversation, let me tell you a little bit about Emmitt Smith in case you've been living under a rock. Emmitt Smith is chairman of his namesake company, E. Smith Advisors, a partnership with Newmark. In partnership with Newmark, E. Smith Advisor is part of a global network with operations in more than 400 offices worldwide, offering clients a wide array of commercial real estate services with customized solutions that maximize return for investment tenants and landlords. E. Smith Advisors and Newmark excel at creating customized real estate solutions that take in the intricate, unique needs of each client into account, a shared methodology that make two firms perfect partners. He's used his 15 years experience as a real estate professional and industry knowledge earned through his certifications to create a premier real estate solution service provider and brings a level of integrity and innovation. As chairman, his role includes new business and client relationship. Before joining forces with Newmark to form E. Smith Advisors, he served as chairman of E. Smith Legacy Holdings, a position he holds today. But prior to all of that, in commercial real estate development, Mr. Smith enjoyed an illustrious career as a running back in the National Football League with the Dallas Cowboys and Arizona Cardinals, earning such accolades as the NFL's all-time leading rusher, and congratulations on 20 years of that. Super Bowl 28, MVP, and induction into NFL Hall of Fame. So being inducted into a Hall of Fame is not new for Mr. Smith. How are you doing today, Emmitt?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing today, Sharon?
I guess I'll make it. And so as we celebrate 20 years, certainly grateful for what you do. But our audience, in terms of our corporate members and our minority business owners, really want to know. And, I remember when you blessed us with your presence a few years back. David Mosley had arranged for us to see you, and you came and spoke at our event. People are still talking about it. I mean, I milked it because I kept you on my website for like years. But anyway, what people want to hear about is, we know about the NFL career and how you parlay that into the business piece, and kind of what you kind of take from there. But given where you started and who you are right now, and if you look back on the journey, can you share with us the three most important things, and it's been a stack of them, but the three most important things you've learned along the way?
Well, you're talking, that's going to take a little minute to unpack just three, because there's been so many valuable lessons that I've learned throughout the entire process of becoming who I am today. And I'm still in the process of becoming to the fullness of who I am. My mom always told me years ago, never use the word I can't, because you limit your ability, you limit God's ability to work through you in order to achieve the things that you truly want to achieve. And you can believe in yourself. If you believe in yourself and work and have all the dedication that you need to have to get things done, you can get it done. So never use the word I can't. I won't. I'm going to use that word. I won't do that, and I won't do this. But can't is not. It's such a limiting word. And so that's one of the valuable lessons that I got from my mom when I was a young boy. But I also got a valuable lesson: do not put all my eggs in one basket. Learn how to diversify yourself, and knowing that I had a talent that could take me places, just didn't know how far that talent would take me. So making sure that I got my education, being educated about the things that I truly want to get accomplished. So learning to immerse myself into areas of interest and owning that space from my standpoint is what I try to do. A prime example, getting into the real estate business after professional football, learning how to do site selection, learning to study the lingo and the conversational pieces. So whenever I'm sitting in front of a CEO or CMO or someone on the diversity and equity panel, I'm talking apples to apples, not apples to oranges. And I'm able to speak the language and understand the practical aspects of real estate, whether it's from a development standpoint or representing a client who's looking for a commercial location, or if it's even just the financing aspect of what it takes to get a job done. So from that perspective, I've immersed myself in it, and I've been doing it for over 15 years now. And I started out in '05 with the Starback Company as a developer, and I've been doing development. And then I ventured off into the brokerage services world, and I've been doing that for the last 6 to 7, almost 8 years now. And so understanding the service aspect of what we bring to the table has been an important thing. Service, service, service. Roger Staubach told me, he said, always do what you say you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and try to be on time with the budget. And if you're going to miss it, be the first one to pick up the phone and call and let them know that you're having challenges, and here's how we're going to get it corrected. In other words, coming back with a solution to solve the problem that could be before you right now. And that in itself promotes integrity. And so I try to be upfront with every client that I'm working with, try to do everything that I possibly can do, and trying to develop the team that believes and think the way that I'm thinking as well for all clients. Me personally, I think a lot of service is going wayside in this country right now. And I think service is something that's lacking and something that needs to be reinstilled in the processes of how we go out and make the capital that we're trying to make and service the clients that we're trying to service. And Jerry Jones always told me this: don't worry about losing a deal. There's always another one around the corner. Now, as disappointing as it may be to lose something or lose out on an opportunity, he's absolutely correct. There are always opportunities. The question is, are we licking our wounds because we lost the last one? Or are we picking ourselves up saying, okay, understand what went wrong. How can I prevent that from happening in the future and continue to move forward? I think the process of just picking oneself up and continuing to move forward is what I learned through sports. Sports have had its ups and downs. Life is going to have its ups and downs. Just try not to stay in the valleys too long, and try not to stay at the peak so long to where you get caught up in all the air up there and you forget what got you there in the first place.
That's outstanding. And so when you made that transition from professional sports to doing business, why did you select that industry? Why did you select the commercial real estate industry?
Well, one of the main reasons why I did was because my owner, Jerry Jones himself, was in the real estate space. Yeah, people say he's an oil and gas guy, but in order to extract the oil and gas from the earth, you have to control the dirt on the surface, and then you have to go underneath the ground to get it. So you have to control surface rights as well as the ground underneath it, as well as the air rights also. So you're looking to capture all of the rights. And so that's one aspect of what he did when he owned the Dallas Cowboys. Well, people say, well, he owned an asset. Yes, he owns an asset, but that asset is sitting on top of real estate. So real estate became a big focus for me because I saw what Jerry was doing and how he was leveraging the Cowboys and going into other venues. I saw what Magic was doing when he was revitalizing urban communities back in the 90s. Then I also saw what Roger Staubach was doing himself as a broker service company in the real estate space. And it became very intriguing for me. And what I wanted to do, and I had friends that were in the development space as well, and they were killing it. And I wanted to know and learn what they were doing because I was making certain investments into some of these projects. And so I started asking questions, how they putting these things together? once I started learning how some of these things could actually work and how they can be put together, then I asked myself, how come I cannot do it? Why can I do it? And what do I need to do to learn it? And I had to immerse myself in it. And I didn't have any problem studying it because I had a passion for it. I have love for it still to this day and passion for it to this day. And I love the aspects of going to conferences and meetings, sitting down with Target or Walmart or Home Depot or Lowe's or Kroger or someone like that, and having a conversation about their expansion plans and all that stuff. That to me is really where the rubber meets the road. How you leverage yourself into those rooms, but not only how you leverage yourself into those rooms, but what are you talking about in those rooms? And to me, that's where all the knowledge began to, the interest began to bubble up. And I wanted to do and be as successful as those guys were, or to strive to be the best version of myself in that particular industry that I could.
And I was going to ask you about that. I mean, given who you are and the competitive nature of what most of your life has been, and when you make that transition into this industry, that you've seemed like you've had some mentors along the way, or you've had that influence to make that decision. How do you look at it from a competitive perspective? Where is it you want to go?
It's very competitive, especially for an African-American guy that does not have the relationships as my counterparts. My white counterparts, some of them have been in the industry for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. That's a long list of relationships. And what happens with relationships, you find out in this industry, people leave one company, go to the next company, to the next company, to the next company. And before you know it, you have amassed 25, 30, 40, 50, or 100 relationships in all different sectors of the real estate space, whether it's on the finance side, whether it's on the debt side, whether it's on the equity side, any of those things. You have accumulated a database of relationships that you can lean on. The hard part is activating on those relationships and making sure that you are bringing to the table the product that fits within the investment criteria that they're putting forth and that meets their criteria. So doing that is part of the yin and the yang, if you will. But that's the exciting part about the real estate game that I like and love, is trying to solve the problem. I like puzzles. I like games that stimulates my mind, makes me think outside the box so I don't get so stagnant in terms of what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. I like to push myself and challenge myself in those areas. And so real estate is one of those games. It's a long-term play,
okay,
but it's a great game to play in.
Okay. You talked about diversification before. What does that mean for you? Not only are you diversifying outside of this industry, what does your portfolio look like?
Well, for me, I had to learn this because when you're broke, you don't have to deal with the things that other people have to deal with when they're making money. So beyond just stocks and bonds, there's this category called alternative investments that can consist of a number of different things. And in that category, you have private equity opportunities. You also have cash flowing opportunities or real estate opportunities. All that fits in a different kind of category, which yields different types of returns that stocks and bonds might, but it's a lot more riskier. And so that's part of diversification. I mean, when you get to the point where you have the ability to go to a Merrill Lynch or some financial money maker, some financial money planner, and they give you a diversified asset allocated portfolio, and you have a portfolio stock in various areas, whether it's insurance, stocks, bonds, like I said before, then you have a chance to get into this real estate category or this alternative category. It opens up other opportunities for you. So from an investment standpoint, that's what diversification means to me. But when it comes down to operations, diversification means diversity of thought and diversity of people, being inclusive. I think about it, diversity now completely different than what I did 20, 30 years ago, because diversity, equity, inclusion is something that's extremely important, because like I said, my counterparts have been doing these things for years. And some of us are just not getting introduced to something that has the potential to create long-term wealth for a lot of African-American people. And that part excites me.
Oh, outstanding. When you look in terms of the kind of strategic partnerships or the those kinds of things, what advice would you, what's been your experience and what advice would you give others as relates to partnering?
Well, one thing about partnering, partnering can be very difficult if you do not have the right partners.
Mm-hmm.
Partners that believe in the mission of partnering, number one, and why you're partnering with someone. Some people partner with others for brand visibility. Some people partner with people for equity that they can bring to the table. And other folks partner with them because somebody has a database of relationships that can help expedite the company's growth or the opportunity that's before them. But all partners are not good partners. I've been in construction projects where our partners don't pay well, and don't pay right, and don't pay on time. Mm-hmm. But I've also been in partnerships where people have taken the liberty to say, here's something that y'all might want to learn and might want to improve upon, and become great partners and great assets to helping you advance your team so your team can be as productive as they need to be going forward and your company can continue to strive. Those are the kind of partners that you truly want. There are good banking partners. There are bad banking partners. And so partnering is very tricky. And I don't care how much due diligence you do, it's all in the operations of how you and your partnership work and perform and practice, and not practice, but perform with each other. Mm-hmm. And can you truly rely on each other? And you never will know if you can rely on each other until you get into a situation.
Hmm. When you look back over your shoulder in terms of deals you've done, is there anything that you left on the table you have second thoughts about, or is there one that you should have walked away from?
Yeah, there's some that still sits with me to this day. I mean, the construction industry is a very tough industry. But it's one that is very much needed where minority people may have the capabilities, but may not have the bonding capacity to do some of these big deals, and yet they're leaving things on the table because of not only the bonding capacity, but also from the operational expenses. Some of these big deals, you can burn 100 to 2,000. I mean, 100 to 200,000 salaries or payroll a week because of the projects are just that big, and you may have a contract that's that size, and you can find yourself in tougher situations. So for a small amount of margin, so I've come to learn that the construction space, as nice as it is, and as much construction work is needed here in the United States, it's a very risky business. And you try to do everything you can to alleviate the snake in the wheel pile. With that said, if you have the right team and you have the right capital structure, you can excel, especially when you can control your own destiny, when you become a general contractor. And so for us, as our organization, we're trying to find that balance between the two. So, but we're doing great work. Don't get me wrong. We do great work, but it's still that long tail of when you receive your fee, because I've seen payroll, I've seen projects, or not our projects, but I've seen one of our pay apps get held up for a $5,000 issue when there's $150,000 on the table. You can set the $5,000 issue aside if that's all it is, but please give me $145,000 so I can keep payroll moving and keep the machine going. And those are some of the challenges that you face when you're dealing in the construction industry. In the commercial real estate space, the challenge is always trying to break into a new relationship or relationships that they can turn around and trust you with the opportunity that they're putting before you. And because most people would do what is comfortable, what is easy, versus trying something new. Because a lot of companies, everybody talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, but not many big companies are showing great progress because of various reasons. I like to think those reasons are because consultants haven't done a great job of helping them understand how to implement the diversity, equity, and inclusion straight throughout the entire process. Yes, they may be fulfilling a mandate internally with organization, but the equity part hasn't reached the street yet. The equity is going to the same old guys that's been getting the equity all day long. It hasn't reached our Black community the way it should. And so that's the part that I see as a struggle, because people are going with the familiar, not with people that has been given the true opportunity to achieve their own financial independence through doing quality work. Can't hear you. I can't hear you.
A couple other questions before we close out. Apologize. One is about teamwork is part of your DNA, right? And so you look at teaming in all aspects of what you've always done. What advice would you give in terms of ensuring that you do have the right team around you?
Well, I like to look at it this way. I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room.
Okay.
I prefer to surround myself with smart people that has the ability and have shown the ability and expertise to execute against a game plan. I think surrounding yourself with those kind of folk help challenge you as an individual and help stretch you as an individual and push you to areas that you didn't think you can grow in. And I think we all have room to grow every day of our lives. I truly believe that. And so finding a veteran that's been in the business over 20 some years, over 30 some years, and working with him, finding someone in the middle and finding someone that's young keeps you in that triangle, in that pendulum of understanding wisdom, understanding growth, and understanding humble beginnings. And it keeps you at the place to where you're in a position to where you can impart wisdom wherever you can. But also I can learn from the younger generation. And I don't ever want to stop learning from a younger generation because they bring something different to the table than what the mid-level guy and what the guy of wisdom or the woman of wisdom has since they've been in the business for 20 some, 30 some years. So being able to connect with people up and down the spectrum is extremely important.
That's outstanding. Okay, so as you look at what's next, anything you'd like to share? I mean, diversification for you has been a whole gamut of stuff, not just that industry, but you go off dancing sometimes, and sometimes you do other things. And so anything you'd like to share about what's next for you?
Oh, man. You know what? I don't know what's next for me right now outside of what I'm doing right now. I got kids that are in college right now. One's getting ready to graduate from grad school at Texas A&M. My son is in his sophomore year of football out at Stanford. My youngest daughter is starting her freshman year at LMU. And my oldest daughter is graduated from Duke, and she's out in LA studying becoming an actress, have landed a couple of gigs. And my youngest son is 12. So I think for me, it's kind of hard for me to say what's next when you got 3 beautiful daughters and 2 beautiful boys. Mm-hmm. But the expectation is at some point, one of them girls is going to get married and one of them boys is going to get married. So I haven't experienced what life would be like to be able to walk my children down the aisle or to see them start their own family. And I look forward to those opportunities, but no time soon. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
But I look forward to those opportunities. Those are things that I've not experienced yet. And, but I want to, those are things I look forward to. So to me, what's next is unknown at this point in time, but I'm gonna stay focused on the things that I have right in front of me right now. So I don't take my eye off the prize.
Okay, don't take your eye off the prize. Do you think that the kids, I know that they're in various stages, and congratulations on your success with your children, but anybody have any inkling about coming into the business?
I got a bunch of entrepreneurs, bunch of young entrepreneurs. My son is private equity. One of my daughters talking about being an entrepreneur herself, and then I have one that's leaning towards marketing. I got my 12-year-old want to be a YouTuber. So people they're all over the place,
Well,
and so and I want them to go and do other things first before they even think about coming into working with daddy, because they have to go get their lumps. They have to have someone else chew them out. They have to be responsible to someone else other than daddy or mama. And so to do that, they need that independence of me. And so I'm encouraging them to go and get jobs at other places, learn what you can from these places. And then at some point in time, when you're 29, 30 years old, you may say, okay, you know what? I want to do this for myself. Or, you know what? My daddy has built a pretty nice little business over there. Let me go help Pop continue to do this and bring some new things in there that he might not know. If that happens, great. If it doesn't, fine too. Do you, boo boo? I'm okay. Let's keep it pushing and go have fun and enjoy your life and just be productive citizens and give back to when we can, help another person in need, and just do what God has called you to do. Be the best that you can.
and that's outstanding because who knows? You might be writing some checks, investing in some innovation that they provide.
You never know,
Never
and so you just got to be prepared for all of it and embrace it all. And you may not like it all, but you know what? You may have to embrace some things that you may not like.
That is very true. One last question, let you go. When you look across the country at things that are happening that impact people of color, in particular African American, we're coming off the pandemic. We are
Right.
that whole last couple of years of social and civic unrest. And you look in terms of where we are. I tell people, Emmitt, that the organization is 50 years old. That's a good thing. But the bad thing is that we're 50 years old and there's a need for advocacy, right? There's still a
Right.
need to, but, not for advocacy organizations, the conversation still would remain the same and it would not be inclusion. And what do you see or feel? Because even with who you are, you still feel or sometimes experience that inequality in a sense, and people wouldn't understand
Right.
that. But
Right.
are you optimistic at all about the future? What do you think needs to change in order to? They said there's a study that says that the way that we're going now, it's going to take 300. Actually, the Michigan Minority Supply Development Council said it's going to take 333 years to reach parity. The way we're going now.
Right.
Any thoughts around that?
First and foremost, I am optimistic. I don't ever believe that the glass is either full or halfway full. I think there's always opportunities to get better. That's what I believe. But forgetting what I believe, I have to ask our country and our people, what do you truly believe about our country and about where we are and what we need to do? For many years, we've always talked about being in a silo or Black people not coming together, et cetera, et cetera. Even when we have a chance to come together, we don't come together. And so I've always found that to be a challenge. And I've always felt like we could not necessarily control our own destiny, but we can be more inclusive than most people are in terms of trying to include us in. We have to get people in higher positions. We have to get people to sit in our Senate and our Congress to make decisions that will benefit our communities. We don't have enough of that. And the ones we do have, we don't need to be tearing them down unless they're not good. And the ones that are sitting there don't need to be taking advantage of the system and leaving a whole swath of people behind. So everybody has to do their part. It is not incumbent upon myself or any Magic Johnson or Michael Jordan or Tiger Woods or anybody or even some of the great leaders that we do know around, like Robert Smith and so forth. It's not even coming upon Oprah to do it all by herself or Jay-Z to do it all by himself. We all have to pull and carry our water. And when there's an opportunity, we need to act like, as my father told me years ago when I got in the end zone, son, act like you've been in the end zone before, because you were getting in the zone many times. And when we get there, we need to act like we've been there, even though we have not. But we have an understanding of how to act and how to treat one another. I think what's going on in our country, we are divided in so many ways. Families are getting divided. Businesses are getting divided. Communities are getting divided. People are getting divided. And people are arguing over some of the simplest things and spending a whole lot of energy arguing over these things. Face masks, wearing a mask. How do you argue over wearing a mask when you have over 1 million people dying from a pandemic?
Right.
What fool out there is telling us that the pandemic is not real? Do you believe that? When you see death, right. How can you believe that? Right. So anxiety is absolute at an all-time high. Never knew anxiety even existed back in our day. No one ever said anything about anxiety, but now anxiety is everywhere. So that's what I was dealing with, that you did not diagnose back then and so forth. So we need healing. We need the cleansing. And the pandemic was one part of a cleansing, but we didn't even learn nothing through the pandemic, because now everybody retreated in the pandemic, and now everybody's in their own corners fighting their own battles and fighting by themselves and fighting for something that's selfish. We have truly become a very selfish country. It's not justice for all. It's justice for some. And unfortunately, we need to get back to truly what I think the United States used to stand for: a country for everybody, equal opportunities for everybody. When it says equal, that means equal for everybody: black, white, male, female, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and mean what we say. So, but I can't call us the greatest country in the world because I haven't spent a lot of time in other countries. I haven't lived in other countries as long as I lived in the United States. So I'll be lying if I said we were, because I don't have that experience. And so, but I think we do pretty good for what we have. And but we can do better.
Absolutely. So, Emmitt Smith, thank you so much for your time today. And congratulations to you for your induction into the CRMSDC 50th Anniversary Leaders and Legends Hall of Fame as one of our power brokers. And congratulations for celebrating 20 years of breaking the record in terms of the rushing record. And so we thank you. And just for your humbleness, just for your willingness to share. That means so much to us. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Y'all be blessed.
Thank you so much for joining us for this very special episode. But before we close, I'd like to recognize our sponsors who support our vision and help us each and every day advance our mission. Exelon and the Exelon companies of BGE and Pepco, Capital One, AMCUS, the Virginia MBDA Business Center, SB and Company, AARP, AT&T, BAE Systems, the BWI Thurgood Marshall International Airport, the City of Baltimore, the District of Columbia Department of Small and Local Business Development, Dominion Energy, the Ellison Group, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FRS Financial Realty Services, the Hilton, Horseshoe Casino, Huntington Ingalls, Leidos, Lockheed Martin, M&T Bank, the Maryland Governor's Office of Small Minority and Women Business Affairs, Mass Mutual, McCormick, Northrop Grumman, Parsons, Peapod Digital Labs, the Prince George's County Office of Central Services, SAIC, Sodexo, Truist, Tidings and Rosenberg, LLP, United States Postal Service, the University of Maryland College Park, the University of Maryland Global Campus, Washington Gas, Metro, Zillion Technologies, and Zones. And lastly, let me extend a special thanks to our Coronavirus Response and Relief Center and our media production team for all the behind-the-scenes support and for helping us deliver this special podcast episode. Thank you, Sonia, Nicole, Renee, and Graybo Solutions. Don't forget to like, share, and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube at CRMSDC. I'll say that again, at CRMSDC. You may also subscribe to our channels on podcasts. You can find us on Apple, Google, and Spotify. And until next time, we look forward to seeing you. Thank you.